Perched on a strawberry tree, she clung tightly, savoring its blood-red fruit. Around her stretched an endless green carpet of towering cedar trees. The sky was ablaze, crystal clear, its tranquility broken only by the flutter of birds' wings. Like a honeybee, she only swallowed the ripest fruits, indulging in their sweetness. To keep boredom at bay, the spring forest breeze played alongside her, brushing against her ankles and teasing the unruly waves of her hair. She was elated, more so than ever before. These wonders of the forest meant little to the village youth, but for her they were freedom itself, a divine realm under the vast sky. Then in the blink of an eye, the sun sank. All sounds dissolved into silence. A heavy stillness, like that of a graveyard, enveloped everything. Her skin bristled, her bones shuddered as a cold gust, as chilling as the breath of a demon, pierced through her. She trembled, as if seized by an icy fever. And then, a pitch-black night descended, torn apart only by the mournful howl of a wolf. Barefoot, she ran as fast as she could. Terror sealed her lips. She screamed, but no sound came out. A black wolf, its eyes blazing like fire, was closing in on her. Gasping for air, she caught sight of the kusha, the charcoal pit where her father used to make coal. A realization struck. She was in the Aslal'S Nightmare forest, not far from her grandfather's house, the home of her childhood. But just as a glimmer of hope flickered within her, the shrieking cries of owls drenched her heart in fresh terror. She screamed! Her voice lost somewhere in the void. The wolf's snarling drew closer. Her heartbeat pounded in her ears. Her breath seared her throat. A stabbing pain crushed her chest. Her body begged her to stop, but instinct pushed her forward, urging her to outrun the wind's tail. Yet her legs betrayed her. Thorns tore into her feet. Jagged stones slashed her skin. She screamed. But her chest swallowed the sound like a sponge drinking up water. Desperately, she whispered the 2 protective verses from the Holy Quran, the only ones she knew. Panic swelled inside her. The wolf would tear her throat open any moment now. She smelled it, a stench, wet dog fur reeking of rain. An indescribable horror gripped her. Her heart was on the verge of bursting. She tripped over a tree root and tumbled to the ground, trembling, dazed, terrified. The pain burned through her flesh, scrapes, bruises, crimson streaks of blood staining her pale legs. Then out of nowhere, a faint light emerged. She grasped at it, and suddenly the soft neigh of a horse reached her ears. Through the veil of her tear-filled eyes, she saw him, her grandfather, wrapped in his yellow turban and white cloak. His kind face radiated warmth as he gazed at her from atop his speckled horse, a halo of light encircling his head. And then, in the blink of an eye, the darkness swallowed him whole. She screamed, as if Lala Hachum the seer had sewn her mouth shut, just as she did to the stray cats. An unbearable exhaustion overtook her. She could no longer hear her own sobs, nor the panting of the wolf. Her frantic eyes darted around. Where was the beast? All she saw were the flickering lights of hundreds of fireflies, like a desert sky studded with stars. Owls, their eyes glowing with a sinister glint, hooted ominously. The trees now seemed ancient and ghastly, oozing a thick, tar-like liquid, groaning as if in prayer. And then, one by one, they began to fall. Paralyzed by fear, she pleaded with her legs to move. Suddenly the ground beneath her feet collapsed. She plummeted into a bottomless abyss. She shut her eyes, surrendering to the void, falling, never reaching the ground. Then, a blinding jolt awakened her senses. She heard the thunderous gallop of approaching horses. Strong arms lifted her. She tried to open her eyes, but her lids refused, heavy and stubborn. Summoning the last remnants of her will, she fluttered her lashes and saw a face, faceless. A distant voice calling her name echoed through the depths of her ears as if rising from the bottom of a well. Aslal! Aslal! The voice yanked her from the abyss. She shot upright in her bed, gasping, seeking refuge in the name of God. Drenched in sweat, as if she had just stepped out of a Turkish bath.